Welcome back, and thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective, the podcast with subject matter experts in marketing. So I can tell you firsthand, having worked in TV, that most marketers don't understand the channel of TV well, regardless of whether it's advanced, addressable, OTT, linear, and so on. We know a lot of the other channels like, digital and direct mail and social and email. But what I can tell you is the one that do know TV well, who know how to execute campaigns with TV and digital, using especially a common audience file, see incredible lifts when omni-channeling their approach. But where do you go to bridge that knowledge gap in TV? I mean, there are a ton of digital marketing conferences, but they rarely touch on anything about TV. What are the conferences that bring the best thought leaders in the TV space especially? Tracy Swedlow is the co-founder and CEO of TMRW, the parent company of InteractiveTV Today and the TV of Tomorrow show, that are conferences held annually in San Francisco in June and then again in New York in December. And she's a subject matter expert in the TV ecosystem. And on this episode, we'll discuss the TV of Tomorrow show, the hottest trends in TV, the problems modern marketers still face with that knowledge gap, and omni-channeling their campaigns, including with TV. So let's tune in to the TV of Tomorrow lady with the TV of Tomorrow shark on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Tracy, thank you so much for joining me today on A Shark's Perspective. What is your background and career? How did you get to be the TV of Tomorrow lady?
The TV of Tomorrow lady.
Yeah, I don't know that's an actual moniker, but it was best I could come up with.
It's a weird trajectory. It's a very long story. But the reason I started TV of Tomorrow is because nobody was doing a show that integrated all of the different disciplines and for TV. And TV was evolving at that time, into something to do with technology, data, measurement, advertising, content, interface development, and on all the platforms, satellite, cable, your phone, on all the platforms. So that's why I started it. But the background trajectory before that includes new media, technology, journalism for well-known, newspapers like New York Times, but also for startups here in San Francisco, like E-Groups, which became Yahoo Groups, eWorld. And before that, of course, I was covering new media and virtual reality when I first came out here in the early 90s. I was one of the first journalists to really cover VR. In fact, I wrote the first history of VRML, virtual reality markup language. That's when it all first started. That was an exciting time. But even before that, I was training to be a director in of different kinds: theater, film, TV. So I have a very big sort of film and theater background before all this, but always a love of futurism, technology, space, television. In fact, was always my first love when I was a kid, and I used to watch an inordinate amount of television.
Same, yeah.
Yeah.
Those big old 400-pound TVs, yeah.
Oh, yeah? I used to steal my mother's black and white TV that she had in her office.
Nice.
And take it into my bedroom at night and watch really late night programs and like Psychology Today and Johnny Carson, and I'm dating myself, but a lot of in films and things like that, and Star Trek. But, and I'll never forget, not that you asked this, but I'm doing theater, and my father's like, why don't you do TV and journalism?
Yeah.
Because you're so inquisitive and you like TV so much. I said, I don't know, Dad, what?
Yeah.
He was so right. Anyway, so that's some of my background.
Well, not a remote control with turning the knobs. So, what probably with that passion that you've had for TV and the industry is what's helped it make such a well-respected show. I mean, you're in Silicon Valley, which is, 3,000 miles more or less away from Madison Avenue. Why do you think it's become really sort of the go-to show?
We are editorially oriented. We have been covering this through the publication I started in 1998 called InteractiveTV Today, or ITVT. So we study these things very carefully, and we have a long trajectory understanding, a long arc of an awareness of who's doing what, where they've come from, who's smart, who's got a great reputation, how things fit together, what is new. Like, we really know what's new and what's innovative when we hear about it. or we're shown it because we have seen it. We've been watching it for a long time. So, and we work very hard to create high quality conversations behind the scenes that are incredibly relevant up to the minute. And we don't even publish our schedule really until like a couple of weeks before.
Yeah.
I mean, we really try to craft this thing extremely close to the times. And I mean, people respect the publication and the podcast that I do as well. And thanks for inviting me, by the way. So I think that we attract top quality speakers. And then because I have all this theater background and producing background, I've been able very fortunately to create a consistent, loyal team of production people who love each other and get along, and we collaborate well. And I think we pull off a good show, a very high quality, on time show.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, and having worked myself in TV, this has been a word of mouth. This is not one where, like a lot of conferences, you barely go look at the website and then you're retargeted with ads all day long, and you've got, thousands of speakers. I mean, you've really got sort of the who's who of TV thought leaders that are there. And I know you've got the podcast, but it's really sort of that word of mouth that's made it such an amazing industry, gold standard in show and thought leadership. But
thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. No, at least
I think,
go ahead.
I think that it is a word of mouth kind of show.
Yeah.
It's very much an elite group. We're inclusive, but at the same time, this is a group that if you're in the middle of it, you're going to walk away with deals and good meetings and great business cards, and
Absolutely.
You're going to be like, oh my God, why wasn't I here before? If this was your first time, to some extent, I think we're a little bit of a secret.
Yeah.
Agree.
Well, I mean, TV in particular is that way. You've got so many different digital marketing conferences, but TV is still a little, fairly elusive for a lot of people, at least then from an industry perspective. What are you seeing at your show, and from, some of the industry dynamics that are heavily influencing TV today? What's, driving the conversations most today in TV? Is it, is it advertising? Is it the itself? Is it the ad tech? Is it user experience, content? Data, attribution.
It's a big horse race,
yeah.
Right? There's different horses who are running at different speeds with different strengths, and you kind of have to constantly watch all of them, because all of a sudden something will spring out, right? Some horse will reach the goal line, or whatever they call it, finish line.
Yeah.
So data, of course, is absolutely the blood of the industry. So data across every single idea, every technology, every platform. And that has to do a lot with artificial intelligence. And of course, another important topic these days is becoming, and it's not quite as hot as it will be, but it's still very hot, which is attribution, which is the new science of studying the sort of journey of the customer and how they watch a show, and then they flip over here, then they go there, and then they buy something. I mean, it's kind of like studying the breadcrumb trail, and then all the enabling technologies that watch and manage that whole process. But then, of course, the content universe, we're always still looking at what the showrunners are doing, the different shows. And we invite, by the way, not just technology and advertising people, and we do a lot of that, advanced advertising, addressable advertising, all that kind of stuff. We're also watching all the trends on YouTube, and we have YouTube stars, or we'll have independent producers who produce incredible original content, doing unusual things, and do little shows on regular linear television that not many people know about, but are might be doing something unusual. So we really try not only to organize the industries or the ecosystem of today, right, paying the way for all of this, traditional television as well as for multi-platform television, but we also try to make sure that we bring in various people who are doing things you need to know about, that are stretching the definition of what everybody's doing, and then we mix it up. They mix them up on in sessions.
Well, I know when I get an addressable in advance, several years ago, it seems not that long ago, that we had very little data. Now we've got plenty of data, but we still run into those problems, just like you were talking about with attribution and not enough people leveraging the data. What frustrations are you hearing with what the marketers and advertisers and publishers are talking about with data? I listen to your show, your own podcast, and I hear about this, so many of the different technologies, but I can tell you that same in the the TV world is same as the digital world. I don't see enough people truly leveraging data and let data driving a lot of the decisions, and that to me from what I've
Yeah.
seen is
Mhm.
been a problem, an ongoing problem. I'm just curious if you're hearing the same hoof steps.
It's really about people wanting to protect their their revenue,
Yeah,
and so they protect their distribution network. They protect their relationships to their clients. So building those bridges, those um, technologies that allow you to go across many different platforms and get rid of silos, it's just an ongoing problem. I mean, it's amazing to me that we have the web in the first place, but it's only because of the
I
good nature
know.
and generosity of Tim Berners-Lee, who gave all that, code out to the universe for free, that we have a platform we can all share. But there isn't somebody in the TV industry uh, who is able to do that. It's requiring a huge amount of collaboration, and believe me, they're all trying to find a solution for that. There's many different organizations. Jane Clark, who's with CIMM, they're actively involved in building those bridges. Or Ad ID with Harold Geller. I mean, there's countless people who come to our show who are talking about, how do we get this done? And so that's one thing that happens at our show: incremental improvements, incremental awarenesses are shared, and it'll happen. It'll
Agreed.
happen.
Well, what's driving the conversations from a customer experience standpoint? So much of that is now changing with a lot of the different platforms. What are you seeing and hearing today?
Well, I mean, I think voice is becoming more and more important. I think that interface design or user experience design is in a kind of a holding pattern a little bit. I mean, there's still improvements being made. It still looks very, beautiful. You go and see what all the different manufacturers are doing, like LG and Samsung, and it's becoming really beautiful. It's not terribly novel again. Like, we were making huge leaps for a while there as the technology got better. Now the technology is pretty good, and it's hovering. So I'm waiting to see how they really use voice and graphics navigation and purchasing and things. Somebody really exploring that, exploding it. And there's some good experiments that we'll be bringing to this show coming up in San Francisco.
So from a tech standpoint, just like in digital, and we've seen it and hear it all the time. There's so many new technologies in the TV space. What are the ones that excite you? That you at your level, especially both as somebody who's been in the industry for a long time, but also running the show. What gets you excited? What do you hear from an excitement level from your peers?
Well, we're very interested in what's going on in the news business.
Yeah.
We're very interested in what's going on with ATSC 3.0, which is the new
Mm-hmm.
technology, speaking of sort of a consistent platform that will hopefully revolutionize local television industry to make it more on demand, more interactive. Addressable advertising will be able to sort of support it financially. There are so many advances being made there, but so far to go. We're going to be doing a lot with that at the show. Um, and we're always looking at all the different artificial intelligence platforms. We're also very interested in. I'm always interested in different forms of T-commerce,
Mm-hmm.
and because nobody has been able to crack that, and yet
Right.
some companies on the web have been able to do that with digital video. And so we've invited some of those companies again who still who seem to be doing well with it to make a presentation. I mean, I just hope that someday the money that could be gleaned from some of that will generate new developments. Of course,
No kidding.
the other major development this year was Netflix's Bandersnatch
Right.
interactive
Sure.
storytelling thing, and they just this week, made an announcement that they're going to, as they quote unquote, double down. Because even though people responded to that show in somewhat of a negative way, it was kind of scary, it was violent, it was depressing, but it was really exciting. And so they said they're going to look at it in terms of other genres, which people should have been doing that a long time ago. It's
Exactly.
like, all right already.
Exactly. TV worth
Like
talking about.
we've been talking about this for decades. Come on, guys. I'm still surprised that Apple TV is not sort of involved, more. They keep saying that they're going to do A, B, C, and D, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, too distracted by
You
it.
could not get, except on an iPhone, you couldn't get the interactivity for Bandersnatch on an Apple TV platform. You had to do it on your phone, on iPhone,
It's crazy.
or on something else.
$1,000 phone at that. So, at least from a consolidation standpoint, we've seen a lot of that over the years with a lot of the larger players in the ad space. If you had to pull out your crystal ball, what do you see sort of happening, continuing, slowing down, settling in for a while? What do you see?
Well, I mean, the obvious one, of course, is what AT&T/Warner Media is going to be doing. That's
Right.
already happened as a
Right.
form of consolidation, but they're about to start transforming and spending a huge amount of money and becoming a kind of Netflix competitor and probably doing all kinds of other stuff. So that's the company to watch right now because they're already down the line as far as been put in motion and hired various executives to behind it. So that's an important
Good point.
company to watch. And of course, how will Turner, which was purchased as part of that, get sucked into that huge machine? And we saw, of course, the demise of Filmstruck, which I really loved, the app, from movie watching. So supposedly Warner Media is going to be, offering all that content and doing a million other things. So we'll see. Another company to watch, although it's tried to conglomerate with Tribune, but they weren't able to pull it off, which is Sinclair Broadcast Group.
Sure.
Sinclair, of course, owns hundreds of TV stations, and that was not permitted to go through. So they're doing some other things, like they started their own D2C streaming platform called Stirr, STIRR. So we're having the person in charge of that present. So so companies who are allowed to conglomerate are going to be. They have a lot of money. They're being given billions of dollars, like Warner Media, to play with. And then there's companies like Sinclair who have a huge amount of power, huge amount of reach, local television, trying new things to deliver content in new ways. But I guess the other part of your question is who hasn't conglomerated, and I still am waiting for the Facebook Netflix combination.
Yeah.
Or Amazon and somebody, Amazon and Apple maybe, but I just don't see those two getting together. Maybe Facebook and Netflix, but the people who run that are so determined to be their own kings.
Exactly.
I don't know, but I know Reed Hastings sits on Facebook's board. And I've always felt that the one major thing that Facebook is missing is a really incredible TV platform, but they have the social media community, the platform to talk about TV, and all of their TV efforts have gone, badly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm expecting something like that to happen down the road, but I don't know.
So then, getting back to something
what do you think? What do you think?
I don't know, but obviously I think the biggest one, Facebook is. I agree with you. Facebook's going to have to change. I think people get too lost in the Netflix versus Prime discussion. That's a dominant one, but from a content standpoint, I think it's going to be platform taking over a content provider, and who knows? It could be that somebody else, maybe Snapchat decides to go crazy and try to get in the market. I'm making that up, or Twitter. Just people are starting to consolidate into those different groups because they know they need the whole experience.
I could totally see Amazon buying Twitter or something like that. The
Good
one
point.
thing that Twitter owns that is exciting, but which they have not been able to do anything with, even though it's
Make
like
money.
a gem, is their live streaming Periscope platform,
Yeah.
which was
Oh
really
yeah.
super hot. It was super
Good
super
point.
hot, and then it has gone down, but it's still going. If you check into it, there's still a lot of exciting things going on there. If somebody is able to figure out how to monetize live streaming, have a platform that's interactive, that asks for people to join in or buy something, and there are different live streaming platforms that have figured that bit out, but nobody's brought all that stuff together inside a huge company with a lot of resources. So I wouldn't be surprised that Twitter is a takeover target for
Agreed.
somebody.
Agreed. Well, then let's go back to something you referenced earlier, which was
Okay.
silos, which that I've struggled with working with teams over the years with Fortune 200 brands that played in this space in advertising. But what advice do you give sort of the modern marketer approaching TV advertising today? And one of the issues that I have is that it seems to me that the knowledge gap has gotten wider rather than smaller. And the reason I say that is because campaign distribution is handled differently. It's not just looking at video, but looking at you start looking at things again as a channel specific strategy, and that is a problem from a customer standpoint. But you find people that know TV, and you find people that know digital, and then there's that smaller alien race of folks that still live in the creative realm. But you still find the modern marketer missing a lot on TV, and there's still so much room for growth, and it's driven by such a small group of knowledgeable partners. But there's so much opportunity in the space to capture those dollars from other advertisers if
The,
they knew more.
well, exactly. You hit on it. The problem is that they don't know more. And I'll tell you one thing is they're very hard to get out of their offices. They only go if there's like a free margarita or something.
Right.
And they only go to established like upfronts and the splashy shows,
Exactly.
and they only go to these things where they're just sort of meeting clients and customers, but they're not doing any learning. And it's very hard to get them to come to shows. I mean, they do show up at our show, but they should be coming in droves if they were smart, because they meet
Could
all the
not agree
people who
more.
know what is going on, how to circumvent something or else, how to solve this problem over here, how to who the alliances are, who's smart. I mean, they're missing an obvious major resource by not going to these educational shows. Now we have oysters and we have, champagne and we have all those kinds of things, but we don't have the flashy shows with all the celebrities. We've got really important, amazing, very smart people. But marketers do not have the whole story. They are not reaching out proactively enough.
Could not agree
They're
more.
they're sitting, yeah, they're sitting, they're too comfortable.
Agreed. So, one of the most important questions I have to ask you, because this show is called A Shark's Perspective and my nickname is Shark, is what is your favorite kind of shark and why?
Shark?
Shark. Yes, you live very close to quite a few of them between, right off the bridge, right in the bay.
Well, uh, hmm.
Can you name your
Shark.
famous
All I
most
can think
most
about is
favorite
like
deadly
that.
predator?
Well, it was always Tyrannosaurus Rex,
Well, yeah,
or maybe it's my cat.
there you
My
go.
cat is my cat is vicious.
There you go.
She's got sharp teeth like any kind.
Not
Like,
bad.
well, actually, it's a he. He'll all of a sudden he'll just go wah and attack you like a great white. I guess I like I'm kind of always been fascinated with those whale sharks.
Oh yeah, I agree. So, Tracy, it's that special time in the show. Are you ready for the 5 most interesting and important questions that you're going to be asked today?
Yes.
All right. Number 1, New York and Madison Avenue, or where you live, Silicon Valley and San Francisco?
Where I
We're,
live.
we're thinking about TV. So, all right. Number 2, Ad Tech or Martech?
Martech.
Number 3, satellite and cable or 5G? It's going to change things.
5G.
Yeah,
5G.
agreed. Number 4, Netflix or Amazon Prime?
It's getting hard. They're giving me content in different ways. I've been migrating to Prime a lot lately.
Yeah, same here. And the most important, go ahead.
Yeah.
You think what?
No, I mean, Netflix is not doing as good of a job of giving me, well, they did the interactive stuff, but giving me really great educational content that I love, myself. But anyway, go ahead.
And number 5, and the most important question that you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread?
Oh my God. I love jalapeno cornbread from New Orleans.
Are you from New Orleans?
No, I live there.
Oh, you live there.
3 years.
That's a good choice. So, Tracy, where can people find out more about you, the TV of Tomorrow show, the great conference, and more?
Well, thanks for asking. You can go to thetvoftomorrowshow.com or itvt.com, InteractiveTV Today, InteractiveTV Today for the publication and the podcast. And the conference is June 12th and 13th in San Francisco. It's called the TV of Tomorrow Show. We do it in New York and in San Francisco.
Tracy, thank you so much for being with us today on A Shark's Perspective.
No problem. You ask great questions.
Thank you. So there was my conversation with Tracy Swedlow, the co-founder and CEO of TMRW, the parent company of Interactive TV and the TV of Tomorrow show that are conferences held annually in San Francisco in June and in New York in December. And she's a subject matter expert in the TV ecosystem. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from my conversation with her. First, according to Tracy, what's driving a lot of the discussion today in TV is data, and it's running across every single idea in TV. That's followed by attribution, voice, MarTech, ATSC 3.0, AI, T-commerce, YouTube, and more. And if you're a digital marketer, then all of this should sound very similar. If only the two could work together. They can. Second, to the previous point, TV and digital marketers and advertisers are not working closely enough together. I would say from experience that marketers focused on TV and video understand the digital side maybe a little bit better than digital marketers understand TV. However, neither understands enough, and it's part of my ongoing mission to help break apart these siloed efforts that marketers and advertising teams still have. As Tracy said, well, we've just got to keep building those bridges to get rid of those silos. And she's so right. So how do you do that? Well, one easy way to shorten that knowledge gap is for a digital marketer, for example, to attend a TV-type conference. People jump to every form of marketing for conferences, but they rarely want to attend a TV one if they're not in that space specifically. And look, unless you believe that TV is dead right now, which it's not, marketers don't have the whole story without understanding how the customer sees your TV and video advertising. TV is an extremely important channel, just like digital and social and direct mail and so on. I'm not advocating that you spend more on this channel. You just need to understand that TV is an important channel with a lot of money behind it. The knowledge gap is real, and you should always look for the best resources to help you shorten that gap. Third, the TV of Tomorrow show is one of the best top conferences in TV. It runs twice a year, once in San Francisco and then again later in New York. Tracy and her team have created a great show that is very well respected in the industry with high quality thought leaders in the space. As she said, they're a little bit of a secret, but that's also because not enough marketers and advertisers are focusing on the important changes in TV. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. It's been my privilege to discuss another one of the many components that makes up marketing today. So is this a good show? Yep. Boom, hammer, nailed it. Join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.